I need to get out of here.
By the way, I am pretty impressed with how well you guys are holding it together. You're doing fantastic.
What do you mean?
I thought the strawberries would have hit by now.
Why would strawberries hit?
Because you were dipped in an unbelievably potent drug. It's like ayahuasca, but Asian. Asian Waska. I told you guys that, right?
No.
What's up, you golden starfishes? Welcome back to the Movie Squawk, the only podcast out there that prides itself on squawking rather than talking. I'm Hannah, not your usual host, but I'm joined by the usual rowdy teenagers, Gigi, Kyle, and Trevor.
Teenager.
No.
Now that's a word I
Squawking.
haven't heard in a long time.
Oh, no.
Calm down there, you old fart.
Long time. Yeah. We're movie squawking today on the movie Booksmart.
Did you say boovie? Or
The movie.
I heard boovie. So
I was trying to say movie, but then I saw the word Booksmart.
Booksmart,
so it was
yeah.
like movie.
yeah, boovie. It's a bougie
that worked.
movie.
Bougie movie. Anyways, the film was directed by Olivia Wilde in her directorial debut.
Nice.
It stars Beanie Feldstein, who is actually related to Jonah Hill, I just found out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caitlin Dever, Jessica Williams, Jason Sudeikis, Lisa Kudrow, and Will Forte. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 42 minutes. And for the synopsis, we have academic achievers Amy and Molly thought keeping their noses to the grindstone gave them a leg up on their high school peers. But on the eve of graduation, the best friends suddenly realize that they may have missed out on some special moments of their teenage years. Determined to make up for lost time, the girls decide to cram 4 years of not-to-be-missed fun into one night. A chaotic adventure that no amount of book smarts could ever prepare them for. Heh. So as usual with this, we have our questions. We all did get the chance to watch it together, which was nice.
Yes.
But we got 10 questions, so let's get right into it. All right. First question.
Oh boy.
This film is famous actress Olivia Wilde's directorial debut. The direction of the film seems to be taking the perspective of high school as most people see it now, a cluster of memories and moments in time rather than a straightforward overarching storyline. Did you feel this tone in the movie? If so, did you like it?
Yeah, I do feel the tone of this movie. I feel it, it is more of a cluster of moments. Throughout the movie, there's this one common goal between the two friends, and from that perspective, it may seem pretty straightforward, but this movie takes place in the span of, I think, just 2 days. The last day of school and then graduation day. In the film, all the moments that happen seem to be kind of just like one after another the whole night. There's never really a dull moment. It's a wild night that these girls will never forget. But overall, I liked it. I'm not really sure what separates like a cluster of moments and memories to the straightforward, overarching storyline that you were going for. But either way, I enjoyed the way the story was told.
Cool.
For me, I put sort of. Pretty much actually what Kyle said, so copy and paste. They were constantly on the goal of trying to get to a specific party, and several events happened along the way where they had to deal with the situation. They were essentially party hopping, if you can call it that, or I think maybe a more accurate term would be like getting sidetracked. I would say yeah, side quest. It was a little straightforward, as first Molly and then Amy were constantly saying like, "We need to get to next party, and we're gonna do it no matter what." But to me, I think it had kind of like a dream quality to it, where like these very like almost surreal moments, like They find out their principal is also a driver. They go
Yeah.
to this one party where it's like a fucking murder mystery thing going on. Like
Hmm.
things that are just so out of the ordinary that you kind of have to go like, wait, is this like really happening? All while, trying to get to like this one party. So I enjoyed it. Just the sort of uh, cluster of weird dreamlike things going on with the somewhat straightforward goal of getting to a party. Gigi?
Yeah. So I said it's kind of, I guess, like Kyle and Trevor. Um, sure, the moments were maybe more of like the fast forward moving. Like you don't see every minute of the day, but like you see time progress. Like you saw the last day of school and then leading into the night of the party. So I feel like those moments make sense. And then for the dreamlike effect, like what Trevor was saying, like I could kind of see that, but then I also think that kind of goes with the characters, where like they just kind of assumed that their classmates were a certain way. So in this party hopping scenario, you see that their classmates weren't actually the same people as they like projected them to be or saw them as.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay. I felt like when I watched this movie, I definitely felt the tone of it being like a cluster of moments and memories. Because there was just like a lot of scenes for a typical movie. There was a lot of different locations, and each one of those just kind of felt like, it's whatever's happening in that scene is like one of the most extreme things that could happen in that scene. So it's
Mm.
more of like a thing you would remember
Yeah.
as far as like a moment or a memory. We're not like seeing them, uh, go through the entire day. We only saw them in class like once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was only like the important things that we saw. So I kind of felt that as like a cluster of moments. But I also think the soundtrack kind of helped to add to that, because every like really important moment was backed by some sort of song or soundtrack moment,
Mm.
and I feel like those are the moments that we tend to associate better with our memories. Um, and I do agree with Trevor and Gigi about the like dreamlike quality of it,
Yeah.
where everything's happening um, to extremes, where you kind of have to question if it's real, and definitely if it has a soundtrack, you're like, wait a minute, why does this have a soundtrack? But yeah, I think that just further emphasizes like, these are just moments. We don't care about like their entire history in high school. It's just these moments that they want to make memories out of. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really liked that the movie was put that way, and actually, similarly, it was kind of interesting thinking about the soundtrack in comparison to Not Another Teen Movie,
Mm.
because it seemed like in that almost everything was backed up by a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of further emphasizes just like the thought process of high schoolers.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah. Next question. So, one of the most prominent compliments of this film is that it feels very 2019, i.e., the film portrays the time period that it's portraying very accurately. Do you agree?
Mm.
Why and why not?
Um, yeah, I'd say that's accurate. I don't really have a lot to say about this, but the things that I noticed, you got Ubers, with the scene with the principal in the Uber. That's
Yeah.
very, obviously, I mean, Uber's been around for a handful of years, but, even in today, it's still really relevant. And, it's sort of the way of the future. Everyone has a smartphone. I just think the kids in general in this movie, for the most part, act like kids these days would. So overall, I'd say it's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Like Kyle was saying, there's the Uber and Lyft with the principal being a driver because um, no one who's works at a school can afford anything.
Yeah.
There's the overly accepting parents, the rampant
Yeah.
drug use, Amy's plan to empower and help women in Africa. Um, and then I just added this on. Nowhere in the movie is this stated, but I could see this happening. Parents possibly bribing the student's way into like a good school, a good college,
Mm.
just because like you
Mm.
see that these are like very, very affluent people who don't have to worry about money, so maybe they could do that. And like that was like a very recent thing, where like you find
Yeah.
out like all these celebrities are um, just donating, quote unquote, donating a lot of money to get their kids into a very good college, even though maybe they haven't earned it or whatever.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I did get the feel like this definitely belonged in like a more recent school year.
Yeah. Um, I agree. I kind of have the same points that Trevor did. The very supportive parents, the feminist, strong female kind of um, atmosphere there. Let's see. I mean, it portrays 2019 for sure. Um, I just put a bunch of different pop culture references, uber progressive parents, strong feminists, heroes. I didn't hate it. I think it achieved what it wanted. So yeah,
Okie dokie. I definitely agree that it feels very 2019. Everything from like the uses of phones and recording things.
mm,
The dialogue of the characters was very modern. The progression of the characters was very modern. And also, even like the stereotypes that we were given were very modern stereotypes.
hmm,
Like, we had some that were basics, like dumb jock, things we've heard before, but, there was like very, um, like progressive stereotypes in there as well, which is kind of interesting because we get to see how those, even the ones that are most the recent, kind of get flipped on their heads as well.
yeah,
But yeah, I definitely think the film feels very 2019 and, will be a staple as a very modern film, at least for now.
yeah.
Okay, on to number three. What did you think of Molly's lifestyle? Greatness takes sacrifice.
Um, I think she was a bit hard on herself, but I also think there are two ways to get to her level, as we sort of see in the movie. Her way is more like studying, working hard, and never settling for good enough. Um, or like some of her peers, to be able to balance both fun and school at the same time. It's really sort of the conflict that gets this movie going. I admire Molly's work ethic and her ambition to work hard in order to succeed, but I also feel sorry for her that she really didn't get to enjoy her life all that much up to that point, at least from what we're led to believe. But I think this movie did a great job of character development and showing how both her and Amy really grew over one night, seeing both of them at their highest highs and their lowest lows. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think her lifestyle is not my kind of lifestyle.
Mhm.
um, but like I said, I do admire it. But I think I think it's sort of like a double-edged sword because, you know, you can succeed her way, but are you really getting the most out of life that way? Or, you know,
Yeah.
but I think, like I said, the character development throughout the movie was really like a special thing because it did kind of open their eyes to this, you know, this way of life where it's like it doesn't all have to be, all about school and being perfect and all that. Um, so yeah, That's it.
For me, it kind of seemed just like a typical overachiever scenario. Do well in school to get into a good college, to get a good job, but then she realizes that she wasted her time because the people who she thought were beneath her were also going to do great things, so she had to make up for it. So I don't know, it felt like I guess just like a typical, oh shit, like we have to go experience this thing because I just opened my eyes to like there's more to life than what I thought there was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I got out of it.
Um, I bet it may not be the best, but it got her where she wanted to be. But like most life lessons, everyone has to learn on their own by a mistake. Um, but at the same time, like I put, you learn in life that some decisions come with a sacrifice, and it's understanding and if you're willing to like accept that sacrifice and achieve what you really want in life, kind of thing. Yeah. So I think she was a little extreme, but at the same time, like she at least learned the lesson early on. So I mean, like the teacher kind of said, like she realized in her 20s that she kind of did the same thing and really explored a lot in her early 20s. Um,
She
but kind
got
of
banned
encouraged.
from Jamba Juice.
She did not just one Jamba Juice, all Jamba
A national
Juices.
chain.
um, so I feel like it was kind of like a good moment, like I said, so that way she's not just like going crazy for the first like years in college. She's learning that she can go to school and have fun at the same time. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I think, kind of like Kyle said, Molly's lifestyle is interesting because, as much as I sort of believe in that greatness takes sacrifice bit, I also see how you can be very hindered by it.
yeah,
Like, for me, I'm a firm believer that you do have to work hard to earn, you know, certain values of success in your own life, but I also think that I lived a lot of my own high school life, kind of like Molly did, and definitely missed out on some other things because of it. um, I of course like don't miss the bad stuff that I missed, of course,
right.
but I do remember spending a lot of nights, studying alone at my house because, I needed to do well on this thing, and that meant sacrificing a lot of fun or partying or, turning friends down when they wanted to hang out. And,
Yeah,
it kind of just depends on what you value as success in your life at the end of the day. But, you know, I don't see it as a completely bad thing because, she knows what she wants and she was willing to do whatever it took to get it.
yeah,
So I think, I've mentioned on this podcast before that I do believe that life is about balance and finding balance. So I think Molly could have benefited from finding a better balance for her life where she could, enjoy things while also succeeding.
yeah.
But yeah. All right, moving on. Um, Pretty much all of the background characters in the movie are subverted stereotypes with multiple layers. Which of these characters do you think were the most fascinating?
Um, I thought Gigi was a very interesting character. I don't remember someone like her back in my high school, but
It was
she
because it was you.
yeah.
I
she,
was Gigi.
she was very mysterious and just overall I don't want to say crazy, but she was hopped up on something pretty much the whole movie. But I think it was in the best way possible. She was definitely like the life of the party. And it was just really hilarious how wherever Molly and Amy went, somehow Gigi beat them there. And like she just like magically appeared in every place, and it
Yeah.
was hilarious. Um, and then I also I also liked what's his Jared, um, the guy that you guys said looked like me.
Your doppelganger.
Yeah. Um, I liked his energy. And I really liked seeing the real genuine side of him at the party when him and Molly were talking. Um, because the whole movie it seemed like he was sort of trying way too hard to just get like approval from everyone.
Yeah.
But sort of seeing him be himself in that scene with Molly, and then at the end of the movie and everything, I thought that was really, I thought that was a really cool like little bit of development in a character that's sort of like a side character. So I thought that was cool that they were able to show that growth in someone that wasn't a main character. Um, I thought he was a cool character.
So, Kyle, what percentage of fuckboy do you think he is?
He's not really a fuck boy. He's just it was a front, He was trying to
Yeah.
he was trying to fit in.
Absolutely.
I also put Gigi. She has a borderline superpower of just appearing wherever maybe she's needed or wherever there's something going on, with zero evidence of what just happened. To the point where I believe it was Molly who asked her, like, "How are you not wet?"
Oh
Right after
yeah.
she
Why
jumped
are
off
you
the
dry?
yacht.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't know what was going on with her character, but she was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah. So I put Pat the pizza guy and
Oh my
Gigi.
God. You mean the strangler?
Yeah. But like I will probably get into it later, but I was like, why didn't he kill them? Why was he just like straight up warning them? Someone could just take you to that overpass and like kill you and like all this other stuff, but like it was just like critiquing them on how they're trying to mug him, and I don't know. It was just thought that was funny. And
Yeah.
I
then
think
yeah,
it's probably on his part. He just couldn't believe how stupid they were being in that moment. That he was just like, "This
yeah,
isn't even worth it."
probably yeah.
Like, I can't believe someone would be so dumb. She showed me her passcode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Gigi's the same thing of like constantly being there when they were least expecting it, and don't know how she did it, but she was there.
For me, it was three characters. I liked Gigi, Jared, and AAA. For Gigi, it both surprised but also kind of didn't surprise me to find out from Jared at one point that she was a really sad person. And I definitely got from her character that loneliness and sadness often leads people to try to find ways to be noticed. So her outrageous behavior kind of reflects, that like longing to be someone who's, in the spotlight or someone who's being noticed by somebody. So it was cool to find out that like, yeah, she's not just a crazy person, she's actually just really lonely.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. For Jared, I loved finding out that Jared was really a genuinely good guy. I pitied him because he really just wanted to make friends and thought he had to buy their attention because of, as we found out, examples laid out before him with his parents, their parents. Like, he legitimately believed that you could buy people's affection, which is
Yeah.
really sad. But I am glad that Molly came to her senses about him in the end and, recognized that he is genuine and respectable and, he just didn't need to try that hard. So, yeah, I like Jared a lot. And then for AAA, I really liked her character because she seems, on the front as like the popular girl that would be an absolute antagonist to Molly or Amy. She's like almost the complete opposite of them, but instead she kind of serves the role later, as we find out, as another misunderstood teenager who's, just trying to make her way in high school. And it's always nice to hear that girls like her also have a longing for actual girlfriends because they're, usually avoided because they're constantly surrounded by guys or, at least,
Yeah.
that was my experience in high school. So to find out that girls like her, you know, who were on the front very intimidating to other girls, just wanted to be friends with other girls is, you know, it's a very progressive uh, thing that was definitely under that stereotype that I enjoyed. All right, guys, we're halfway through. Question 5. We don't, or we just don't only care about school. This is an important line in the film. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's important to balance school and extracurricular activities. Um, Personally, I was not very focused on school in my childhood, especially high school. I spent more time doing what I wanted and being distracted, and I sort of envy that mentality of being able to care about school and other activities. Because I definitely don't really like I don't find like going back to Molly's lifestyle. I don't really envy that as much because I do think it's important, like I said, to have a balance. Because what's that stupid saying? It's like all work and no play, like makes you go crazy or
Kyle a
whatever.
sad boy.
Yeah. So
No
I
longer
think it's
fuckboy.
important. I think it's important to have that balance. So I think it's a very important line, but it's also an important mentality in real life. Because a lot of people's best years are their childhood, and spending too much time on school is really missing out on just being a kid. But also, being a kid too much can damage your future, so having that balance is important.
Yeah, I thought it was a great line. Um, Annabelle reveals that being well-rounded came to the same conclusion as going full tunnel vision into academics. And it's pretty much what sets off the plot of the rest of the movie. Just this holy shit moment on Molly's part, like, wait, you're going to the same school as me and I put in all this effort and you didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, definitely a great line. And that's Kyle's pretty much taking all the words from all the questions right out of my mouth. So,
Sorry.
uh,
Oh.
go listen to Kyle's answer again.
Yeah, found that time code.
Timestamp it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll stamp it in the description.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Just edit me out.
Oh.
For all Kyle's
It's
answers.
just Hannah asking the questions and me answering them.
Yeah, that's
That's the whole
it.
podcast.
Copy and
One-on-one.
paste. That's really what they're here for.
Yeah.
So I put good for them with a question mark. More for the fact of like good for you. You can balance your life because there's some people like myself that can't. Like I can't focus on more than one thing, depending on what the thing is. Like for school, for example, it was really hard for me to like balance going out and doing homework, which I mean I did it. Obviously, I graduated, but I think it's just like a different learning thing, or it's just me. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. But like, I had to really focus on like a lesson or doing homework or just focus on school if I really wanted to bring my grades up because I found like, or I guess it's the balance thing too. But like, I found like if I tried to have fun, I would just be like, nope, no homework. But
Mm.
yeah.
It's one or
Like,
the
it's
other.
probably just, yeah, pretty much. I was the opposite. I was like, cool, fun, let's do that. But I guess it goes with the balance. or different learning abilities. Because really, like I said, I could not focus. Like I would, it was hard.
Yeah. I had to be on medication to focus for a while
Oh.
when I was a kid. I grew out of it.
Was
I
it
overcame
was it
it.
the marijuana, Hannah?
Nope. Back in my day, we didn't have that. um, for me, on this question, like I mentioned before, I think life is about finding balance, like we've all mentioned.
Yeah.
I genuinely love this line because I think it's important to let kids in school know that there is more to life than just school. I think a lot of kids, including myself at the time, get the impression that there's just school and there's nothing else, and you have to do your best and you have to get into the best colleges because that's kind of what society tells us.
Yeah.
But reality is like, yeah, there is school and colleges, but there's also just life and living. So, my thoughts on this is, try and do both. Live your life and, also focus on doing your best in school, but find the balance in between the two because if you focus on one or the other, you know, most likely you're going to get some kind of stress from one or the other.
Right.
Find the balance.
Do it.
Do it. Let the balance flow through you.
Then he's not he's not dark side anymore. He's balanced.
He's gray.
He's the hippie version of
Oh
Palpatine.
god. He's got flowers
He
in
only
his hair.
kills half the younglings.
Yeah.
Gives the other ones a running start.
Yeah.
All right. Did you need to cut this?
Not yet. Like 2 more
Okay.
questions.
Okay. All right. Some of my favorite questions. The fight. Fights between characters are generally a part of most coming-of-age stories. However, the fight between Amy and Molly seems to stand out as one of the most emotional and real portrayals in cinema history, at least to moi. If it stood out to you, what was the thing that made it different than a typical fight between friends?
Okay. The one thing that made it different than a typical fight for me, whether it's real life or in a movie, actually happens when the dialogue cuts out and you can clearly see Molly say to Amy, "Fuck you." Um, that stands out to me because I've had those exact words said to me before during a fight with someone that I cared about back in high school. And the amount of hate those words had behind it really broke me. Um, when they said it to me, it just hit different. Like it wasn't just a regular fight. Like this one had heavy baggage just because of those 2 words. Um, when you say those words and you mean it, like really mean it, you can really break someone's heart with that, and it's really hard to come back from that. But I feel like in the fight in its entirety, it felt so raw and emotional. Like there was just so much pent up rage and frustration behind all their words, and it felt real. And overall, it definitely stood out for me. Um, but yeah, been there before.
Oh,
Finally, something Kyle and I differ on. It didn't really stand out to me. Amy was just trying to protect Molly from what she just went through, even going so far as to evoke Malala. Molly just goes on to prove Amy's point of steamrolling over Amy for everything when Amy reveals she's going to Africa for a whole year. It just seemed like a typical fight to me. Two people arguing, they have opposing sides, and neither one is able to convince the other, and then they separate, and then later on come together again to try to go for that common goal. It seemed like a just a typical fight. Um, they were best friends. they fought and then they got back together. Um, didn't really stand out to me.
Um, yeah, I'm with Trevor. I rewatched the scene today to try to um, I guess see if anything stood out again. I mean, the only thing was the Malala, I think is the word. Which like I knew it was gonna be just like a straight serious fight after that, especially when she said no, because like that's a word that they both agreed on. Um, and like to do no matter what the other person, like just go with them. So yeah, I mean it was a I don't want to say good fight scene, but it was definitely an interesting one. Like definitely portrayed what a fight with a friend would be like. But I think that was all it was to me.
Hmm. Okay. Um, well, I'm just gonna start out by saying I genuinely love this scene. Um, and I'm looking at it from not only like a character perspective, but also a like cinematic perspective as well. So I think that's kind of another reason it sticks out to me. So for me, the first thing I love about it is that the camera is just like so good in this scene. It is chef's kiss. Um, it's it starts when Amy is going from the pool to go and find Molly. Everything in the shot just feels tight.
Oh
There's
yeah,
people
mention
everywhere.
that.
There's walls, that she's trying to navigate her way around. Everything feels tight and like very much like there's so much tension in there. And
Yeah.
not only that, but there's also like red lighting, which obviously gives off tension as well. And so when she does finally get to Molly, the shot opens up so that there's space because she feels a little bit relieved in that moment that, she's found her friend and she can probably convince her to go. But when they do start fighting, there's no cuts in the camera. And what I really like about this is that in a typical fight in a movie between two characters, they will cut back and forth between characters so that you can like emphasize like, oh, this is what they're feeling. Now we cut back, zoom in on their face, cut back to that.
Yeah.
There's like cuts in between, and I feel like there's a disconnect with that um, because you're not seeing those characters essentially react in real time. But for this one, there's no cuts in the scene. They just gently shift the camera back and forth between the two girls. And it's interesting that every time the camera shifts, it's kind of shifting to whoever is having the power in the argument at that moment. And it just kind of makes it hurt more when pay attention to those shifts because they're really trying to hurt each other
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
those moments. And um, leading into the audio cutout, that's the other thing I really love about it is once the audio cutout happens, like it's at a point where it doesn't even matter what they're saying at this point. All that matters is that they are trying to hurt each other, and clearly we can see Molly say "fuck you" to her, but it doesn't matter what they say. They're just out to hurt each other, and they're reacting in real time. We get to see the pain on both their faces from the things that they are saying to each other because it's been established that these characters, love each other very much. And, that only gets escalated with, the addition of the other students, recording everything in the background.
Yeah.
So I think, this is one of the most brilliant scenes of the movie, and it made it stand out because it's very real, and we get to see the reactions in the fight in real time, and the writing, the dialogue between the two of them, feels very much like what each character would say, but also very pointed at the other character. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like that scene. As ironic as that sounds. But yeah. All right. Moving on. Question 7. Magical realism is a gift in filmmaking. For example, the doll scene, the dance scenes, the slow-mo entrance scenes, etc. Did these elements work in favor of the film or hinder it for you?
Um, Overall, I didn't mind any of it. When you're feeling good or feeling sad or strung out, I think those scenes, like them as dolls or the slow motion, really help the audience feel what the characters are feeling and can help them understand it more. Um, Plus, some of those scenes were either funny or meaningful, um, or both, because of that magical realism. I don't know. I do feel like I wrote that answer a couple of days ago. So looking back on it, I do feel like the doll scene was a little out there, but I get it because they basically just they had drugs for like the first time.
Yeah.
um, and I mean, I don't have any personal experience with that, so I wouldn't know if that's what you would be
What?
if that's what you would be seeing or not. But but I think it's important to note that this movie is supposed to be, somewhat of a comedy. So it makes sense to have a scene like that in this movie. Um, and it didn't hinder the experience for me at all. I just thought, like, looking back on it, I'm like, man, it was kind of out there, like that scene, but and overall, I did enjoy that scene and any of the other moments of that. Like the slow motion was interesting. That dance with Molly and Nick, that was that was another one of those, like, it was funny, but it was also really meaningful because it kind of shows you how Molly feels, and then it sort of confirms what Gigi was saying earlier. Not you, Gigi, the character in the movie,
Oh, okay.
when she was saying, like, oh, she uses hate and disgust to hide her true feelings for him. Um, and it's confirmed that, yeah, she actually does have strong feelings for him. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought those scenes were overall just entertaining.
Those are some moves, man.
Yeah.
The only one I remember is the doll scene, and like Kyle was saying, it was way out there. Like it was definitely different from the rest of the movie. Personally, I thought maybe they could have gone without it. I mean, not like I didn't like it, but I don't think it really added anything to the movie. Um, and that's pretty much all I have for this answer.
Okay. Um, I put that it's kind of common. I think in like maybe not coming of age movies or I don't know, but definitely in drug use movies, I feel um to kind of give you the perspective of how the person's feeling, which they did as well when they introduced Nick and Molly, to get the sense of how the character feels about another character or something that's currently happening. So I didn't mind it. Um, it kind of helps as well instead of trying to do inner monologue so the audience knows what the character is thinking, you can just see it on screen, um, and see how they feel about what's currently happening. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think these scenes worked very much in favor for the movie because my take from it was that they emphasized the ages and the maturity levels of the characters. Like, these are high school girls, of course, their imaginations are going to be like peak at this level and at this age. Like, they're of course gonna have over dramatic thoughts. Like, the dance scene makes perfect sense of like how she would want something like that to go. So I think, if you take it as this is what it's like to be in the mindset of a teenager, at her first party or accidentally taking drugs for the first time, like, it just adds to the movie rather than hinder it. So, yeah. All right. Question 8. So, one of the film's messages seems to be about the importance of connecting with your peers and stopping assumptions before they happen. Do you think this message is more prominent to you now that you're out of high school?
Yes. Every year and every day, I still find myself becoming more aware and more, I don't know, mature. Aware in the aspect of like other people's feelings and my surroundings. In high school, I may not have been as delicate with certain situations. And I think the message of connecting with people is becoming more and more important to me every day. So yeah, that's all I got on that question.
Good for you.
Okay, I would say so. Connecting with people is definitely important for careers. I mean, that's why we kind of have the saying, it's who you know, not what you know. As for assumptions, I try not to judge people based on rumors or gossip, but instead let what they say or do affect how I perceive them. Even in high school, I didn't really, I don't know, this is going to be weird to say, I didn't really care about people enough to think about them, like, let alone assume things about them.
Yeah.
And especially today, I I try not to assume as much as possible, which it's definitely impossible not to assume anything about anything, but especially when it concerns people, like I still try to keep an open mind, just I guess give them the benefit of the doubt or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the number one rule I set for myself for my job is don't assume, just because it, it's very important that you get like the exact whatever, like the exact quantity, the exact type, the exact finish, the exact whatever. Like it needs to be exact. So a rule I set for myself is don't assume it's the same just because you think it's the same.
Yeah.
And I think that could be kind of applied for people as well. Like just don't make assumptions. Like let them decide or let their actions give you that info so you can make a better decision instead of just assuming.
Yeah.
Can't spell assume without ass.
Yep.
Ask me. Okay.
You had to sound that one out.
Yeah. Well, you make an ass out of you and me. It's the saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna go with, and then I spaced out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it just
Then
sounded
the
like you were
drugs
like,
hit.
wait.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna ask you, do you regret not quote unquote caring about people in high school?
No, because those people are no longer in my life.
Right. I don't know. I was just asking.
Like, why would I care about people that I was probably never going to see again?
I don't know. It's just a question.
No, I'm just answering. I'm not trying to be hostile. I'm just answering your question.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Maybe if
I
you
didn't give any time to them then, um, when, they were somewhat in my life, I guess you could say, and
Yeah.
I don't care about them now.
but if you did care about them then, maybe you'd still care about them
Okay.
now.
Just be.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay,
my
let's
god.
go.
Oh, let's
Nick, my
go.
best friend. We were best friends all 4 years of high school. Still care about him. I don't make assumptions. Like, I don't go, oh, I bet he's up to this now and whatever.
Yeah.
And like, I'll see from Gigi's Snapchat or maybe Instagram or something,
Both.
like little updates on what he's doing. And like, I'm not gonna assume like, oh, that's what he does all the time or whatever. Like,
You're not.
okay, I saw he was doing karaoke on that day. That's pretty cool. And like, I leave it at that.
To that point, though, I think it can go both ways, is the important thing, too. Because I think even if you did care about somebody for all 4 years of high school, you could also, assume that that, hey, they're my friend, and then, find out later along the road they're not as great a person as you thought. So
Oh
I
yeah,
think it
sure.
goes both ways.
For sure.
What are you trying to say, Hannah? Nick's not a cool guy.
Yeah.
I just think it's important to
Nick,
to
if you're
realize
listening,
that-
comment.
yeah. I think it's important to realize that it can go both ways, and you know, you can't always rely on, you know, thinking your own thinking, I guess.
Did
For
I answer?
sure.
No, I didn't. Okay.
No.
So I put that I feel like I've always been a very open person when it comes to meeting new people. And I feel like I was really even more open back in high school. Um, but now I feel like I met too many people. So I feel like I don't
Beautiful.
assume I don't assume anything. I think generally like I'm very open. I'm okay with people and their personalities, and I don't assume anything when I first meet them. Um, unless of course I've already interacted with them and they didn't know that, and then I'm like, "Oh, you're that person that like honked at me in the parking lot." Then yeah, then I'm gonna assume stuff. But other than that, I feel like if anything, I got closer. I don't know.
Closer.
Closure.
I'm not as open to meeting new people as I was when I was younger.
Oh.
Now I'm like more comfortable with like being with a small group of people
Is that a
than
good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's probably a good thing. Honestly, like if you knew me in high school, oh good, I'm so sorry. GG was based off of me. Just kidding.
Okay.
Always teleporting everywhere.
Oh yeah, I was the 411.
Just
No.
golden starfish, man.
But no, I think it's a good thing more or less because I realize like I don't have to be friends with everyone and I don't have to what is the word? Be fitted into like everyone's perfect idea of me. Like I can just be myself and like if people don't like it, then people don't like it, but at least I'm happy with myself.
Yeah. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, pretty much. The older I get, the more that's how I'm getting. The more I'm like, okay, well,
You're starting to
you.
turn into Trevor.
Yeah. I hung out with Trevor too much.
Sorry,
What
guys.
Okay. For me, I think the message is definitely more prominent to me because I was a pretty big loner in high school, and I didn't have a very big graduating class, but I still don't think I knew enough of my peers for who they truly were. Like I mentioned before, I think I was more like Molly. I was just focused on school. I wasn't really focused on anybody else. So, um, overall now I think, you know, connection is a true virtue of human life that we kind of all have to learn as we get older. So now that I'm, you know, older and more mature, it definitely makes more sense to me. So, yeah, I think it's important. All right, 2 questions left.
Well, there's more than that, but yes.
Yes. Okay, so the idea of this film has been floating around since 2009. The main argument of why it took so long to make was that the writing was ahead of its time and our society needed to do a little bit of catch up. With this in mind, would this movie work in an earlier time period? Why or why not?
I said maybe, but probably overall wouldn't have been as well received just based on society and some people's closed off mindset. Um, but I would have enjoyed this movie the same, whether it was made now or back then. Um, but I can see why it would have been ahead of its time in quote unquote society's standards. And it probably would have rubbed some people the wrong way because, you know, um, the thing that I don't know, like people would like some of those people like why they would have this closed off mindset is because of one of the main characters being gay. Like that's like it's, you know, for some people that's like a touchy topic, and you know it's one of those things that, like, for me, I don't really understand why it's not okay for some people. I just don't get it. But I think that's why back then it would have probably rubbed more people the wrong way. Um, and
Not
today,
a rubbing.
unfortunately, it probably still would rub a lot of people the wrong way. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes.
That's it. That's
I
all I
cringed
got.
every time Kyle said "rub me the wrong way."
It's a lot of rubbings going on.
A lot of rubbings.
Insert that squelching noise from their video.
Oh
Oh
god.
God. Oh God.
Okay,
Oh
Pardon
jeez.
me?
moving on. I think it could have. The two major plot points that might have trouble going back in time are Amy being gay and the Uber slash Lyft thing.
Yeah.
But for the ride sharing, they just as easily could have used a taxi. And then for Amy being gay, while it's way more accepted now, it's not like gay people were invented in like 2006 or something.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think it all just depends on the audience. Like Kyle was saying, there's still people today who want to, be bigots and like hate on those who are different. So it really just depends on like I guess maybe the city might have something to do with it, but it's really just up on the individual, like
Yeah.
how far in the dark ages they want to live or something.
Yeah.
Dark Ages. Yes. I like to go into the midnight times, please. Okay. So I put um I think 2019 was a great time for it to really come out. I feel like I put in like the early because I think 2009 and a few years like teen movies were still seen as a comical only type theme. It wasn't just like um I don't want to say serious or drama or anything, but like they were just seen as comical movies like Easy A, I looked that up. That was 2010. And I mean, they had kind of a serious storyline, but not really. It was very comical for the most part. And it was just one female main character. So, do, do, do. Uh, I don't know what I was trying to write there. But yeah, I think that it was it was great. It's definitely a time where um for smart, strong, independent movies. Oh, I put that strong independent movies scared people. But I just gotta think like the idea of like having women that were very independent and um overall not your typical nerd stereotype of a woman or lady, I guess. I don't know what they would want to be called. Um, may have been intimidating to some viewers, but again, I think like Trevor and was saying, like it just really depends on the audience. And now, definitely, I think there's an more open-minded
Yeah.
audience than there was back then. So yeah. Yeah.
For me, I don't think this exact movie could work in another earlier time period. I think a very similar one can. Like, this movie is very comparable to Superbad.
Mm.
Um, they have kind of the same plot points. It's just with, obviously the male protagonists in Superbad were different than the female protagonists of Booksmart, but
And they were trying to
Right.
get
um,
laid.
yeah, they're,
Yeah.
they're they're fundamentally, very similar, but
Yeah.
there's also a lot of big differences between them. So,
Mm.
if we were doing this exact movie, probably not. I do agree that the writing was probably way ahead of its time when it was first written, and it took the progression of our society to tell the story the best way that it could. Um, I think we're, currently in an age of vast progression, so it feels like the perfect time to tell a story of this caliber. and any movie that was, made in an earlier time period with issues like this would be different issues to deal with, and therefore it would just make it a different movie altogether. I did think it was interesting, though. I was reading up on this movie, and there was something that J.J. Abrams said about it, where he said, quote, "When you have a movie that's as entertaining, well-made, and well-received as Booksmart not doing the business that it should, the teen comedy underperforming at the box office despite critics' raves, it really makes you realize that the typical Darwinian fight to survive is completely lopsided now. Everyone's trying to figure out how we protect the smaller films that aren't four-quadrant mega releases. Can they exist in cinema?" I thought that was really interesting because this movie did underperform, but critics love it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of an interesting dichotomy there.
Huh.
But anyways, last question. What is an assumption that you think that your classmates would have had about you in high school? Would they be accurate in thinking so?
This will be fun.
Yeah. That's rich.
That's rich.
There were actually a few assumptions that people made about me throughout my high school.
Oh.
One of the most prominent ones was a lot of people assumed that I was a pothead.
I can't see that.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't know why they would say that. I think I've actually talked about this briefly on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Oh, the goldfish. They thought
Yeah.
you were like always munching.
Yeah, because I always had the munchies, so they just assumed I was a pothead. But in reality, I just really liked goldfish, and it wasn't always goldfish. but like I remember that being the most prominent snack during my classes. It was usually the extra cheddar goldfish. But
guys, they smell back.
but yeah, another assumption that people made, a lot of people thought I was gay, and I don't really know why. It's not like it affected me that much. I didn't really care. What? Why are you laughing?
I'm not gay. I like women. Get over it.
Just rage gay.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not.
Trevor, I think that's called like being a homophobe. So I'm not that.
That's a no for me, dog.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, people said, like, I remember one conversation I had with someone was, I don't know why, but they were like, "Oh, I thought you were gay," and I'm like, "No, why would you think that?" And they said, "Well, you're always so nice to people," and I'm like, What?
Wow.
So I was like, okay, so I have to be. So in order to be straight, I have to be like a bully or a jock or something. Like
Apparently,
I didn't
Jesus.
understand what their reaning was. Like I don't get why they would say that. But yeah, there were a few people that like, because I was like friends with girls, and I was like nice to people. So they were like, "Oh yeah, he's gay." I'm like, no. But that one wasn't as common. It was just like, I don't know, a few people like had this stupid little rumor. Like it was hardly even a rumor, but but yeah, those two, and there was another one, but I didn't write it down, and now I can't remember. So we'll just leave it at that.
Poor Kyle.
I know.
Hey, I'm still here. I'm still standing. It's gonna take more than that to break me down.
So, given how school shootings were on the rise when I was in high school, they probably assumed I was going to be one just because I was a black kid.
What?
Yeah. Yep. That's I don't know. That's just a guess.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't really concern myself in what others are assuming about me, as one, it's none of my business, and two, it doesn't matter to me. So, yeah.
It's also none of their business either.
Yeah.
No one's business.
Ain't nobody's business. I had a really hard time trying to think what people would assume about me. Um, so I thought of two. One that was
Such a
that
hard
I'm
time.
always well, I really couldn't think of anything, and I just thought of the second one right now. So I put
Oh, okay.
that I was always loud and obnoxious, so that must mean I'm really loud and obnoxious all the time, which I wasn't. And then I put that I was a good student because I never missed school, and I was quiet during classes. And I actually wasn't really a good student. um, and I was almost kicked out of band in junior year because of my failing grades. So yeah, I put that they probably assumed I was really good because I was quiet in class.
Hmm. I think I've talked a little bit about mine before, but I definitely think an assumption that was made about me in high school was that I was stuck up because I was very quiet.
Mm.
I've literally had friends who told me that this was their first impression of me, when in reality I was just shy and quiet. um, I still don't really understand why quietness is associated with being stuck up. The only thing I can really think of is like I'm being quiet because no one's worth my time. But, you know,
Clearly.
this is, again, one of those things that's definitely an assumption and obviously could potentially lose someone's friendship because of it. So, you know, I I don't get it. I was never stuck up to anybody. I was, very, very nice as well in high school. So I don't know. People just didn't want to approach me for some reason.
Hmm.
Huh.
But yeah. All right, that wraps up the questions. Good job,
Woo!
guys.
Yay! Round of
High
applause.
school.
Hey, high school. Let's get down to the nitty gritties.
Nitty
The titty
gritties.
gritties.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Those two. Okay, so we'll start out with the Rotten Tomatoes. The tomato meter for this movie is a 96%. The
Nice.
audience score is interestingly a 77%.
Oh.
Oof.
What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah,
What's your
you're up
score?
next.
Yeah.
um, hmm. I agree with the critic score. I thought this was a really good movie. I think I think it's a very adventurous movie. Definitely not like there were very little things that happened in this movie that happened in my life. So it's hard to relate to it, but I can see how someone somewhere has had a night like they had in this movie in real life. And I thought it was very well written. I think the character development was outstanding. The story was pretty basic, but the execution and what they did with the story is really what puts it over the top for me. So I definitely agree with the critic score over the audience score. I feel like the audience score is kind of low, but I think that kind of ties into question 9 or whatever it was about shit. I forget what the question was.
Shy.
I can timestamp it. It's fine. We can go back.
The year of it being made.
Yeah,
Or
and society's standards and all that.
yeah,
So that's probably why the audience score is a little low, which is
because they're all dumb.
stupid. Yeah, but yeah, I definitely agree with the critic score. I think this was a really solid 90s or up kind of movie.
I would give it an average of those two, probably like an 85 or so. The reason being, this movie, I thought it was, it was well written, definitely, but it was just another one of those, oh, this is like we're about to move on to like the next stage of our life, and like we didn't experience it, so like we need to like live it up type of thing.
Mm.
Kind of like The Hangover, and there's I don't know what that was.
It
Oh, like a fart.
Yeah, it did.
was a
Uh, but
yeah.
like those super bad was brought up, just like we need to live it up, and like
Yeah.
because we only have like one night for like the rest of our lives to live it up and whatever. Um, yeah, I would probably give it like an 85% or so.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't agree with the audience score. And I think the critic score is a little too high for me. So I probably put it at 90. Um, just kind of for the same reason as Trevor. Like it's your typical. I'm gonna do this right because I can't do it any other time. Um, but I I think that their friendship is what really made me enjoy the movie. Um, more for the fact as well. This is gonna sound really weird and sexist, but I enjoy movies with a girl's point of view. I feel like a lot of movies, especially teen movies, well, maybe not a lot of teen movies now, but they kind of when they do the partying, it's like guys and they're just with their homies and they're partying. So like I really appreciate the fact when there is female characters and they're not just your typical oh well she's our hot dumb friend or something, you know. So yeah,
That's a stereotype.
it is.
This movie is about no stereotypes, Gigi.
Yeah, and that's why I appreciated it, Hannah. That's what I was trying to say.
I'm just kidding. Jeez, calm down.
Jeez.
Let me just throw my mic down.
Jeez. Okay. For me, I agree with the critics' score. I would give it a 96. I think this is one of my favorite movies. I love the humor. It's very clever. It's very well written. I love the accuracy to the time period. And you know how everything in the movie reflects that, from the dialogue to the settings to just the general, you know, even idea of like, oh, we only have one night because we're high schoolers, and you know, in a day we're not going to be high schoolers. So that just feels very accurate to the time period of and maturity of those characters. I also really love the tone and relationships of the characters to each other and also to the characters around them. And I really love the positive message about assumptions because we're all human beings, you know. We all gotta live here together.
Do we
So
though?
we do. All right. So, how about a favorite scene?
Um, I couldn't really think of a favorite scene. I know it's already gonna be Hannah's, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway, because this is the one that
Kyle,
I.
just thought stealer here.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, that's what happens when you go first. You take all the good answers.
Yep.
That's true.
Sure.
So yeah, I really did appreciate the fight scene, and I think Hannah kind of opened my eyes more to why it was so good, because yeah, I mean that whole part with leading up to it, uh, the camera following Amy through the house, and it sort of gives off like this claustrophobic feeling of like, and it's kind of like anxious, like she just wants to get the fuck out of there. But then the fight itself, it really did hit hard for me. And whether it's meant to be about the words or about the consequences, either way, I just thought it was a really like, I don't know, because things were going so good, and then suddenly it all goes to shit, and I just really liked that transition of like the highest highs and the lowest lows, like I said earlier. So yeah, that was my favorite scene, the fight.
My favorite scene was during the murder mystery party. They go into the kitchen and the rest of the family's like oh, is it over? And just that thought is so funny to me. Like, here's this family who like gave up their house, so like this one high schooler on like the last day of high
Oh
school, of
yeah.
all things, decides to throw a murder mystery party,
You
and
don't
they're just
get it,
like, "Oh,
Mom.
are we like out of our confined space now?" And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hilarious to
I
me.
don't even remember what the sister's name, but when he's like, I swear to God.
Yeah, he's like, "I will fucking kill you" or something like that.
And she just like flips him off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
great.
You're at a 10, I need you at a 2.
I put Pat the pizza guy just for the fact of like you. I mean, you later find out he's the strangler, but like I guess like Hannah said, like he can't believe how stupid they were to get in his car and like try to like get information from him, and he's just like, do you know how dumb you're being right now? Like, oh my god, it's so great. And they're just like, I don't know, they're just your typical teenage girl trying to, get to a party. But I think that scene's hilarious because he's just he's great.
For me, I have a couple. Obviously, like Kyle said, the fight. I've already kind of given my spiel on that, but from what I read, they nailed that performance on the second take, and
Oh, nice.
I'm very impressed with it. So, yeah, the fight is awesome. Um, Anything with Gigi in it was my favorite. Like her golden starfish in the pool, or like when they're in the closet and they're like, "Where's next party?" And she's like, "It's at his aunt's house." She's like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, I swear to God, I need to get out of here." And like the classic, like, "Why are you dry?" The fact that
Why
she
are
keeps
you
popping
dry?
up yeah, like, why are you dry? She just keeps popping up everywhere. I love it. And then the last one I put on there was the pizza guy interrogation.
Yes.
I love the fact that they're using their hair as masks.
Right?
It's just the
Very creative,
funniest
very
thing,
creative.
right? They thought they had, like, they thought they were so smart, and they knew how this whole thing was going to go down, and then it turns out the guy has a gun in the car, and like,
Do you have a
just
weapon? Because I have a weapon.
yeah, like like Kyle said, it's like they had the highest highs, and then it was all of a sudden the lowest lows. It was like, oh crap. So yeah, I really enjoyed that pizza interrogation scene. Um, yeah. All right, and to wrap this baby up, uh, what would you change?
Kyle?
Uh-oh.
He left.
Oh, sorry.
I
I
love
turned my mic
Joey.
off for a second because I was coughing and I forgot to turn it back on. I just started answering, and then I was like, "Yeah, I'm answering." um, so anyway, I feel like every time we do the movie podcast, I always say like, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I thought it was good." And like this is the same case like now. Like don't feel like I would change anything, and I hate saying that because I feel like there's something, but
As soon as someone says something, then you're like, oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense.
that's me.
Yeah.
So I'll let someone else go, and then I'll decide.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I would change two things. Get rid of the doll scene. I would leave in the scene where they're leaving with very stiff legs, but just get rid of the doll scene. And then have Molly miss her valedictorian speech because she's still in jail. I didn't really
Molly, you
care.
mean Amy?
Amy?
Wasn't Molly the valedictorian?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she went to
Yeah,
get
but
Amy, who was in jail.
Oh, okay, yeah. Have her miss the speech because Amy's in jail. Um, I really don't like how they got the get out of jail free card because like they happened to run into the serial killer the night before.
Mm.
Very coincidental. Um, but just show like by her missing like, what's supposed to be like this big speech on like what's supposed to be like this huge day for her. Like have her miss that for her best friend.
Mm. Yeah.
And then just have what's his name? Jared?
Yes.
I think he was giving the speech. Like have him just have fun with it. So that's what I would
Great white
change.
man, your time is over.
I love it though. He was being a genuine friend. He was like, okay, I'll just go word for word.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it portrays me or not. It's fine. This is her
The whole
moment.
the whole thing about the proxy too, like a proxy can be named if someone doesn't make it to the Senate floor, and he's like, oh God, just please go up there.
Just take it. Yeah. Which, yeah, I thought that was nice. I just put one, it's more of a question more than anything. Did we ever hear about Molly's parents or like, were they ever mentioned? Because I don't remember them being mentioned at all.
I don't think so. Not
So,
that I can remember.
okay. Yeah, that would just be it. Like, we get to see Amy's parents, and I'm assuming the reason we got to was because of the fact of like they're Christian and she's gay, so that was like a thing that should have been an issue, but it's not. So I don't know, like whatever happened to your parents? Like I think that would be interesting.
You want the other side of the coin.
Yes, just like even like a small little like oh here's my parents, like if they're the embarrassing parents or they
Yeah.
just don't give a shit, like something, you know?
Well, we saw her house
Mm.
at the beginning, and that was it, right? Because she was in her
Yeah.
room,
Yeah.
and then
We
she was
saw her
outside.
after the party too. She walked in.
Yeah.
And no one was there to greet her or anything.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, just like where are they? There's no mention.
We'll get a sequel on Just Your
Yeah,
Parents.
just your parents.
I don't really have a lot for this. Like, I don't think I would really change anything. I love the way that it was put together, but if I had to pick one thing, I would probably say I would want more interactions between Jared and Molly throughout the film to like really establish that he did have a crush on her. I
I
felt
think it
like,
was obvious.
well, yeah, it was obvious, but I would have liked more interactions between them so that she could come to realization a little bit sooner.
Mm,
Like, not full realization until the end, obviously, but like, sort of start to see the good qualities about him a little bit
yeah,
earlier. But yeah, it would have been like a better payoff in the end, I think,
yeah.
with the kiss. But yeah,
They're in high school. They kiss whoever they want.
and whenever they want.
I don't know
Apparently,
about
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so that is Booksmart.
Woo!
Yay.
Are we smarter now?
Are we?
I don't feel
Kyle, you better be
smarter.
taking us to college with your movie.
Oh, oh, can I
What's the
guess?
next one?
Can I guess?
You gonna guess?
Yeah.
How are you
He
gonna
hasn't even given us a
guess?
clue.
Hold on.
Oh my.
The next movie for Kyle
Oh
is
boy.
Two Bone, Two Tomahawk.
Oh my gosh.
Is that it?
What is
Oh
that?
no.
What?
I
No.
was
Two bone,
thinking
two
accepted
tomahawk.
because that's like all about getting into college. We're
No.
just gonna keep it going till we get old people movies.
um. So Trevor's wrong. The next
What?
movie
Loser.
the next movie that we are going to watch is called Train to Busan.
Ooh, that's a
Oh.
good one.
Why do I feel like I've heard of that?
Because it's a good movie. That's why.
It is a good movie.
It's an action slash horror movie.
Oh
Um,
no.
and
Oh
Gigi,
no!
Gigi, you better watch the whole thing and never close your eyes. It's not that scary.
What?
Well, there's some
I
scary
can close my
moments.
eyes if I want to.
Then
But
you're gonna miss all the answers to the questions. You're gonna miss it.
well then don't pick a scary movie because you already knew two of us don't do it.
It's not scary in that aspect. But anyway, it's a really good movie. It's a Korean movie. It's actually all in Korean, so there will be subtitles.
Oh shit, Gigi hates subtitles.
Yep.
Too bad. You better keep up.
I can't read.
But anyways, that wraps it up for Booksmart. Look forward to Train to Busan.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Scabba-da-boop.
Gucci.
Gucci.